going on, everybody? Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room, episode 305. I am your host, Mistress Carrie. Welcome to the War Room. Yes, it's an actual place. It's a room in my house that has all of my military memorabilia, all of the stuff that I brought home from overseas, all of my family's military history. And it is also where the bar is, which is why on March 14th of 2020, we started hanging out here. And we did that every night for 80 nights in a row. And then in June of 2020, when I launched the Mistress Carrie podcast, we turned Cocktails in the War Room into a weekly show where we get together at 8:30 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday night on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitch. And we talk about music, we talk about the world, we talk about life, we talk about whatever craziness is happening. So I got to thank you guys for showing up week after week, episode 305. Got to say what's up to Alicia, Jessica, Louise, and Mark, Jonathan, and Tim. Brett is here, and Sherry. Boston Biotics is watching on Instagram, Will and Denise. There was a lot to talk to you guys about. A lot has happened in the last week. Big giant announcement that happened on Valentine's Day. Roast or toast on Instagram, 9-year Army vet. Just wanted to say thank you for all that you do for the troops. Well, you got it, dude. Thank you so much for hanging out in the war room with us. Hello, Michelle and Kim and Ash. So obviously the first thing that I need to tell you guys about is that we have continued to take over the world one rock station at a time. I told you guys last week that there was going to be a big surprise on Valentine's Day, and that surprise is that Mornings with Mistress Carrie can be heard every weekday on Laser 99.3 and 98.5 in Springfield, Mass. It started on Valentine's Day, so this is what, today was day number 3. I haven't hit a wrong button. I haven't said the wrong radio station yet. And I haven't said fuck. So far, so good. So to everybody that's been listening in the greater Springfield area that has been sending me messages on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook, they already hooked me up with a bunch of gear, including the camo shirt. They were like, with all the work you do with the troops, we got to send you the camo shirt. So I got to thank the staff at Laser, Alex and Leah, Mike, the big boss, just everybody that has made me feel so welcome. And it's amazing how many people in that region of Massachusetts, for anybody that's watching from out of state that doesn't know what I'm talking about, Springfield, Massachusetts is the 3rd biggest city in the state, and it is in Western Mass. It's where the guys from Stained are from. And there are a lot of people in that area that grew up listening to me on WAAF. And then over the years, AAF signal was changed so that it came in better in Boston, and so it didn't come in as great in Springfield. And there were a lot of people in that area that couldn't listen to me on the Pike, that couldn't listen to me on any other stations that I was on. And then all of a sudden they get the announcement that I was coming to Springfield, and they were like, what? Chris saying on Facebook, welcome to Springfield. Thank you very much. Donna says, yes, world domination. Brett says, love waking up in bed with you. Brett, Mr. C is going to be very jealous. It is weird doing morning radio. It's the only air shift I've never done before. The hours are weird. Just the listening patterns are different. And so it's definitely going to take some getting used to, but I'm really, really excited about it. So I want to thank everybody that's made me feel so welcome. And so far, the feedback has been great, that people are really excited that I'm playing music in the morning, that we're talking about music. Day 1, Barry Kirch from Shinedown called in to wish me luck on my first show, which was great. Got a little bit of inside info about the new Shinedown album, just that there's one song left to record and that they haven't named it yet and they have not figured out exactly when the release date's going to be, but at least it's an update. So, yeah, all that remains is from there too. The guys from Killswitch Engage are from Western Mass. So there is a huge music scene, a big rock and metal scene out there. Actually, my guests this week on the podcast, who I'll tell you about in a little while, actually have a reference to Western Mass, which is kind of hilarious. And I didn't know that until we recorded the interview. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. What's up, Keith? Bish says, Walter, get the coffee. Yeah, exactly. Especially because now you can hear me mornings on Laser in Springfield. You can hear me middays on 98 Rock in Charleston, South Carolina. You can hear me in the afternoon on the Pike in Worcester and on the Bone in Portland, Maine. And then, of course, whenever and wherever on Westwood One, plus the podcast, plus the War Room, plus everything else. There were a lot of people that were worried that I was leaving the Bone, that I was leaving the Pike, that I was leaving 98 Rock. Nope, everything else is the same. I'm just doing mornings on Laser in Springfield, which has been amazing. Ani Ange says, taking over the world and the radio waves. Absolutely. Brett says, I told Shu I was going to cheat on him with you. He texted me as soon as the press release went out, as he knew this was coming. We just didn't know exactly when it was going to launch. And then when we decided to do it on Valentine's Day, the press release went out on Thursday, and Shu just texted me and said, you are dead to me, which was kind of hilarious. So, but yeah, everything is really cool, and I'm really excited about the new station. They sent me this big package with banners and gear, and have made me feel so welcome. So I know I'm going to be spending a lot of time in Springfield, and I'm really excited about that too. So Bish says, Carrie, what's sleep? I have no idea. No idea, and I'm not going to be getting anytime soon. But that's okay, because I'm really, really excited. This is a radio station that I've been talking to for almost a year now, trying to get this deal done so that I could get on the air out there. And it was a lot of back and forth about the logistics of how I was going to make it work, and just trying to figure out on the radio station's end how we could make it all work. And it's taken a while, but we finally figured it all out, and it launched on Friday, and I'm super excited. Steve says, welcome to Springfield. Thank you very much. Emil says, bring back the Nooners. We don't live in an HR world where the Nooners are a thing that I got people fired for getting them out of work, for cold calling their bosses and full on lying to them so they could go home and get laid. I got people fired. I didn't mean to. They loved it. But the way that HR is now at work, I don't want to get anybody fired. Eggs are too expensive. I don't want to get anybody fired. Let's see. Jason says, how are the pugs? So that was the other big announcement that happened, and you guys will notice when you see her. So on Valentine's Day, I start the new radio station, and where is she? Hey, come over here. And Friday, who literally just turned 8 months old last week, decided that out of any dog I've ever had, she was going to go into heat the earliest. And so she's wearing a diaper right now. I've already called the vet. I already made the appointment. We did not think it was going to happen this soon, but she's an overachiever. So Friday, my little girl's all grown up. It was very strange. I was like, wait, what the hell is going on right now? Because I've never had a dog mature that early. Normally, the dogs have been fixed before that even happened. And I called the vet, and they were like, wait, what? I was like, I know, I'm just as surprised as you are. On Instagram, are you ever going to do the Tough Ruck again? So let me tell you, I did the Tough Ruck 4 times and then ran the marathon once. I am retired. I will help the Tough Ruck. I will go out there as I have done for years and cheer on the Ruckers. I will help people's fundraising. I will promote it. But the 4 years that I did the Tough Ruck, carrying 50 pounds, 26.2 miles, which I love doing with all of my buddies that I was in Afghanistan and Iraq with. Mr. C even did it with me once or twice. But I got to tell you, there's just no way. The body can't handle it anymore. It is... People have asked me what the difference between the Boston Marathon and the Tough Ruck. For anybody that's watching the show that doesn't know what the Tough Ruck is, they used to do it on the Boston Marathon course, that there would be members of the National Guard in full uniform with a full rucksack with yellow ribbons hanging off of their ruck with the names of the fallen. And so symbolically, they were carrying the ruck for someone that can no longer carry it themselves. In 2013, when the marathon bombing happened, you will see footage of the finish line after the bombs went off, and there were a lot of National Guard soldiers. It's because they were there because of the tough ruckers. And so when 2014 came around, obviously security was so tight because of the bombing the year before that they didn't want the rucksacks on the course. So the Tough Ruck became a standalone event, Patriots Day weekend. The Tough Ruck happens the day or two before the marathon. They do it along the Battle Road Trail in Lexington and Concord, which is the trail that Paul Revere rode to get out to the Old North Bridge to warn that the British were coming. And so they do it there. There's reenactments. It's Patriots Day weekend. It's amazing. But it's 26.2 miles. And it went from being only active military could participate. They waived 2014 so that I could do it with all of the guys I was in Afghanistan with. And then they opened it up to civilians of different weight classes. And it's turned into this amazing event now. But you are carrying a rucksack in honor of someone that can no longer carry it. And if you do the military weight, it's 50 pounds in combat boots, over 26.2 miles on dirt roads, gravel, wooden bridges. I did it 4 times. I am wimpy enough to say that I'm never doing it again. It's physically and mentally so exhausting. So when I get asked what the difference is between the marathon and the ruck, to me, the ruck is more physically challenging. You're walking, so you're with a group of people that you can talk to. The conversation gets less and less the further you go because people start getting really miserable and then they don't want to talk anymore. But it's physically harder because the longer you ruck, the heavier that ruck gets. And so your posture, you start to slouch and then you start to hurt your back and it kills your feet and it's really hard. To me, running the marathon was more psychologically difficult because you're running and you're not doing it with anyone else. And if you are, they're just running next to you, but it's not like you're running and talking, you're running a marathon. And so to me, I felt really isolated during the marathon. There were people that stopped along the way. There were a lot of first responders that saw me coming. I had friends and family along the way. My husband met me at the top of Heartbreak Hill when I really did not know if I was going to be able to finish the last 6.2 miles. It is psychologically, when you see people cross the finish line of the Boston Marathon and they're like crying and they're collapsing and they're just standing there kind of in awe, I totally understand it. And having grown up going to the finish line and watching the runners finish, being one of the runners, and people always said, you know, the crowd will get you home. If you can get through the hills, the crowd will get you home. And that's exactly what happens. You go through the Scream Tunnel, you get through all the colleges, and every time you think you're going to give up, somebody yells your name, somebody cheers for you, and it's just unbelievable. But yeah, no. There is no more marathon running for me. There is no more tough rucking for me. Every once in a while, around Marathon Monday, I'm like, oh, do I want to? And then my brain goes, shut the fuck up. You're not doing that again. Hell to the no. Jared said, hopefully with you in Western Mass, maybe we can get some real rock acts to play Springfield. Jared, I know they're working on it. I mean, I keep a concert calendar on mistresscarrie.com, and it amazes me how many shows come through New England, multiple dates in multiple places. And yes, there are a lot of artists that are going to start coming through. MGM is really trying to book a lot of artists to get them out in Western Mass. So I know that they're working on it. So we'll see what happens. Jessica says, I've heard Papa Roach's new song. It's so good. Jacoby says that new album is going to be out by the end of this year or early next year. We don't know exactly when. The new radio show is great, says NBO1225 on Instagram. Thank you very much. Let's see. The American Unicorn on Instagram says, as a veteran, I want to personally thank you for everything that you do and have done for us. You are very welcome. Thank you. Will says, my Boston Marathon was trying to drink 26 beers at the Red Sox game. I know a lot of people that have done that marathon and live to tell the story. So to all of those, you don't get a medal for it, but cheers for that. My marathon medals, by the way, they're shadow boxed because I love them so much. Let's see. I'm in Charleston. Were you on the air today? I didn't hear you, Brett. I was on the air today. Absolutely. 10 to 3 every weekday. A day to remember with a surprise album drop, physical copy only until the end of March. There is a lot of new music coming out. There are a lot of tours getting announced. I told you guys last year that 2024 was going to be an amazing year in music and that 2025 was looking to be even bigger. So far, I've been proven right. This year is going to be nuts with all of the albums, with all of the tours, the Vegas residencies. Yeah, it's going to be a great year for music. All right, so I want to remind you about all of the different places because there were a lot of people that were worried that once I started on Laser that you weren't going to be able to hear me anywhere else. That is not the case. You can still hear me every weekday afternoon or every weekday midday, 10 to 3 in the afternoon on 98 Rock in Charleston. You can listen at my98rock.com. And we rescheduled the date for Lizzie and Joe from Hailstorm. The Living Room Sessions is going to be at the Charleston Music Hall coming up on April 21st. Their date got postponed because they got a couple inches of snow. This is a judgment-free zone. You can hear me every weekday afternoon from 3 to 7 on 100 FM, The Pike. A couple big shows getting announced by The Pike in the last couple of weeks. The Pike kickoff of the summer with Tesla. That's June 1st at Indian Ranch in Webster. And just this morning, they announced that Hairfest 2025 is going to happen July 19th, and the pre-sale begins on Thursday. So all of the details, the full lineup, the link to get tickets, those are all up on the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. You can also hear me every weekday afternoon on 106.3 The Bone in Portland, Maine. You can go to 1063thebone.com. You can download the Bone app. You can hear me every weekday from 3 to 7. So it really kind of just depends on what time of day you have to listen and what kind of music you want to listen to. If you like newer, harder music, The Bone. If you like your music more classic, The Pike. Charleston is a mix of both. Laser is a mix of both. So it's a little bit of everything. But last week I told you I was really excited. It was a big secret. We couldn't tell anybody. They didn't send the press release out until Thursday. They had me on the air on Thursday morning to warn everybody that you were going to wake up with me on Friday for Valentine's Day. So once again, you can hear Mornings with Mistress Carrie on Laser 99.3 and 98.5 in Springfield, Mass. And you can go to laser993.com and you can download the free app. You can stream the station. And one of the new things we're doing is the 90s at 9. So you get 3 songs from the 90s at 9 o'clock every weekday morning. I want to remind you about the next Mistress Carrie Grunge Brunch that's happening March 22nd at City Winery, Boston. It's going to be the Stone Temple Pilots Unplugged set performed by the Stone Temple Posers. The link to get the tickets is right up on the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Do not miss the next Grunge Brunch, the Stone Temple Posers, March 22nd at City Winery, Boston. And this is a ways off. I don't even want to start rushing us through spring and summer, but just to put it out there that I'm going to have a big area set up at the annual Johnny Appleseed Festival in downtown Leominster coming up on September 20th, which I'm pretty excited about. So that's going to be really good. For anybody that doesn't know, my hometown is the birthplace of Johnny Appleseed, and they take apples very seriously. Let's recap last week's podcast episode 245, featuring Chris Daughtry, who is quickly becoming a pretty frequent guest on the show, talking about the success of Shock to the System Part 1, the new EP, which has got 2 number 1 songs off of it already, and a 3rd song, The Dam, that is climbing up the charts. We know that Shock to the System Part 2 is coming out at some point this year, and I talked to Chris Daughtry about that. We also talked about touring with the Creed guys and also being on the second leg of the Sickness 25th anniversary tour with Disturbed and Nothing More. So lots going on with Chris Daughtry, and you can also kind of see his blacked out arm sleeve tattoos. We talked a lot about the recovery from all of that. Matter of fact, German researchers just did a study to figure out how much tattoo ink actually stays in your body when you get tattooed. Because when you look at the amount of ink that had to have been used to black out, Chris Daughtry used to have full arm sleeves and he covered them all up with blackout tattoos. This German study said 20% of the ink that the tattoo artist puts on the needle and puts in your skin actually stays in your skin. The other 80% just kind of dissipates and as you heal, comes back out again, which I thought was really interesting. Rachel says the bone is harder. Oh yeah, the bone is hard. You guys are such freaking perverts. Let's see. MC, did you see that Jelly Roll got a mini donkey and now has 2 mini donkeys, and that Bunny got a female for Kelly Roll's male donkey? Yeah, they're making a farm in Nashville. There's a lot going on with Jelly Roll right now. When you get announced as being the opener for Post Malone's stadium tour, yeah, you can buy all the donkeys you want. And Post Malone just announced the European big ass stadium tour, and Jelly Roll's going to Europe with Post Malone as well. Both of them took part in the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary concert that happened at Radio City Music Hall on Friday, which, by the way, if you didn't see it, it's streaming on Peacock. It's awesome. They were doing skits. They were doing the comedy songs. They were doing tributes to artists that are no longer with us that played famously on Saturday Night Live. Eddie Vedder did a tribute to all of the iconic members of the cast of Saturday Night Live, like Gilda Radner and John Belushi and Phil Hartman that are no longer with us, Chris Farley. And so if you haven't watched the concert yet, it's like 3 hours long, but it is so worth it. And it's streaming on Peacock. Bish says Daughtry was awesome. Love him. Brendan said, man, Lemonster don't remember the year. I remember seeing Loco Bazooka with Disturbed headlining. I believe that was 2000. It was either 2000. I don't think that Loco Bazooka 2001 had Disturbed on it. That was the year that a lot of the bands couldn't make it because the planes were shut down, because Loco Bazooka happened like 8 days after 9/11. It was one of the first concerts that took place across the country. The guys from Biohazard were in New York and called us at the radio station and said, are you guys still doing your show? Do you need a band? We'll drive up from New York to play it. And they did. So I'm pretty sure that Disturbed played Loco Bazooka 2000 because Down with the Sickness was like the biggest song of the year that year. But they played Loco Bazooka a few times over the years for sure. Lou says, did you see Cher, Holy Jesus? So Cher was on the SNL show and she did If I Could Turn Back Time, and she came out in the cat suit from the video. Cher is 78 years old. Now, I know she has all the money in the world. Everybody knows that she has had work done. I don't know who does her work, but she's 78 and hot as balls. Did you see Cher's boyfriend, who PS is like 30, if that? So you can talk about Bill Belichick all you want. Go and get yours, Cher. Seriously. She had her boyfriend on the red carpet. It's ridiculous. She can still sing, and everybody in the crowd, Kevin Costner was in the crowd, like anybody was at Radio City Music Hall, and they were showing all of these A-list celebrities in the crowd while Cher was on, and everybody was like this. She's amazing. Rachel said that medley was amazing. Listening to the Bone while streaming the cock. Really? You guys with the Bone jokes? You're not over it by now? Brendan says Adam Sandler with the tribute. He did another amazing job. So there was the concert at Radio City on Friday, and then they had the big giant 50th anniversary special, and Adam Sandler went out and did a whole song about the 50 years of Saturday Night Live on the special, not on the concert that was on Friday. Keith says, you are getting better. Keith, stop kissing my ass. Cher got freaking, Eric says, Cher got a freaking young stallion of a boyfriend. Yeah, did you see her ass? She came out in that catsuit with her butt cheeks hanging out, and I was like, tell me another 78-year-old's ass that you've looked at. There aren't that many. And she looks unbelievable. Tracy says, I saw how Kevin Costner and John Hamm looked at her. John Hamm was in the front row sitting next to Pedro Pascal, and they were both like, hilarious. That's how you know you did it right. When you've got all these A-list celebrities in the crowd and no one can think straight because you're too hot. So Chris Daughtry was my weekly episode last week. And then to celebrate my first day on the air on Laser, Barry Kurtz from Shinedown called in to be my surprise guest on the first show. That interview is up as a bonus episode of the podcast. So you got 2 episodes last week. Let's see. Eric says she's got better cakes than a 20-year-old. Bish says Paul McCartney playing the end was a tribute to Chris Farley, a little Easter egg. I have always loved Saturday Night Live. I grew up watching the Not Ready for Primetime Players when I was a really, really little kid because my mom worked 3 to 11 at the hospital. And so my grandfather used to babysit me on Saturday nights because my dad had to get up really early on Sunday mornings to go to work. And so I would hang out with my grandfather, and I used to watch Benny Hill with him and then Saturday Night Live. And that's how I ended up the way that I did. So thanks a lot, Papa. Let's see. Joshua says the last old person ass that I saw was Mike Tyson's, which was a whole other thing altogether. All right, let's tell you guys who's on the podcast this week, because a bunch of shows and tours got announced this week that I want to tell you guys about. Really excited that Mike and Courtney from Spirit Box are my guests this week on the podcast. Now, we recorded this interview right before the Grammys. And so they got nominated for Best Metal Performance alongside Gojira and Marina Viotti, alongside Knocked Loose and Poppy, Metallica, and Judas Priest. But at the time, we didn't know who was going to win yet. So it's pretty interesting to hear Courtney's prediction about who was going to win the Grammy for Best Metal Performance. But we also talked about the upcoming new album, Tsunami Sea, that's coming out on March 7th. We talked about her iconic voice, and her grandfather is from Chicopee. And so we had an interesting conversation because every time, and we talked about when she used to visit her grandfather when she was a kid, that they used to take her to the Palladium to go and see concerts. And that really shaped her wanting to be in a metal band, was that she would go to all of these metal shows at the Palladium as a kid. And she said that her grandfather, who by the way is almost 90, always goes to the Spirit Box shows. So if you're going to see him at the MGM in Boston, the grandfather is going to be there, but you got to hear that part of the interview. Episode 246 of the Mistress Carrie podcast featuring Mike and Courtney from Spirit Box goes live at midnight tonight. And you know that when you subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast, you get the weekly episode. Sometimes, like this week, you get a bonus episode, but you also get the sit rep Monday through Friday. It's only 5-ish minutes long. Rock news, music headlines, entertainment updates. You can subscribe to the podcast basically anywhere you get your podcast. People are always like, are you on Apple? Are you on Spotify? Are you on Pandora? Yes, I'm on all of the things. It's part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. You can listen to the audio episodes on YouTube. If for some reason all of the other websites and apps are firewalled at work, usually YouTube will work, which is why people put their podcasts up there. And if all else fails, you can just go to mistresscarrie.com, find the episode you want to listen to, and click play on the embeddable player. I made it stupid simple for you guys to be able to stay caught up with all of the episodes. Arrowfan81 says, yo, Mistress Carrie on Instagram. What's going on? Brendan says, Oasis got a Hall of Fame induction. I wonder if they will show up and if they will get in. Actually, it's funny that you say that because Liam Gallagher from Oasis was asked that question in a recent interview. And he said the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was for wankers. So he was asked by someone, well, what happens if you get in? And Liam Gallagher said, we'll go and say that it's the greatest thing ever, which is exactly what Liam Gallagher would say. So yeah, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations came out. There were some notable omissions. I'm really glad Billy Idol got nominated. I'm really glad that Soundgarden got nominated. Obviously, I'm glad the Black Crowes got nominated, obviously, but Motley Crue didn't. Iron Maiden didn't. I thought they were a shoo-in this year. I'm shocked they didn't even get nominated. Motorhead didn't get nominated, and Dio didn't get nominated. I think Ronnie James Dio, because of Rainbow, because of Black Sabbath, because of Dio, I feel like Ronnie James Dio should get inducted as an individual because of the success that he had with so many different projects, but he didn't even get nominated, which is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, Billy Idol said that Steve Stevens is going to get inducted with him because he's been his guitar player for so long if he gets inducted. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Vicky Cornell released a statement just talking about how Chris Cornell was never a believer in accolades when it came to his music, but that he knows how much it means to the fans. And it's a testament to his legacy that he would be included in the discussion. Joe Cocker got nominated. He's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet. Chubby Checker got nominated. How is Chubby Checker not like part of the first class getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? That literally makes no sense to me. Let's see. Jessica says, I would love to see Soundgarden get in. Do you think Stone Sour will ever get in? Eric, I don't think Stone Sour is ever going to get in, but I think Slipknot will. I think that when they really start... I mean, look, Soundgarden's not in yet, right? So that's early 90s. Have there been artists that have kind of skipped? Absolutely. But I think when you look at the mid to late 90s artists, because it's not just about success. It's not just about concerts. It's not just about tickets sold. It's not just about albums sold. But they really look at it as, did you permanently change music? And so I think the guys in Slipknot did. For that genre of music, I really do believe they did. I think Korn belongs in there. I think System of a Down and the Deftones belong in there. Rage Against the Machine already got in because the Hall recognizes that they changed music. They did something fresh and new that had never been done before. So I think as the years go on that we're going to see those bands get in for sure. Tracy says, no nomination for Lemmy is unacceptable. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I don't think Stone Sour. I could see later in life if Corey Taylor continues to do the solo things that he does, I could see Corey Taylor being a double inductee when he's old, because I can see him getting inducted as part of Slipknot, and then because of Stone Sour, because of his solo stuff, because of the collabs, because of all of the other stuff that he does, I could see Corey Taylor when he's an older guy, like Ozzy, getting inducted for a second time, 100%. Eric says, Slipknot are a shoo-in. Mariah Carey not in earlier is shocking. I was actually really surprised that she's not already in the Rock Hall as well, just based on sales alone. But like I was just telling you guys, it's not just about sales. It's about changing music permanently, that it's different after you were there. And she 100% belongs in there. I can't believe she's not in there already. Debbie says, it all sounds a bit crazy, but what you're saying makes so much sense. Yeah, there are a lot of artists in the Rock Hall that didn't sell 100 million albums. And then there are bands like the Scorpions that sold 100 million albums and still aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But when I interviewed Alice Cooper a couple years ago, because he's a voter on the committee, I asked him about that. And he was like, it's not just about the commercial success, but it's also about, did you change the technology? Did you start a sound? Did you inspire a whole generation of artists after you because you were there? And if that's the case, then yes, you belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's just, Zakk Wylde told me on the podcast last year, they already know who's in, but they can't put everybody in all at once because there'd be no reason to have a party again next year. So, of course, Iron Maiden's going to get in. Of course, Motorhead is going to get in. Nikki Sixx thinks that there's somebody that has it out for Motley Crue, and that's why they've never even been nominated when they are fully qualified, because it's 25 years, from the date of your first release. So this year, Papa Roach, Disturbed, and Linkin Park meet that threshold, which means in 2026, Linkin Park, Disturbed, and Papa Roach could get nominated for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, technically, which is just mind-blowing to me. Do you think Slash as a solo artist will get in? I don't know. Slash, Guns N' Roses changed music. I don't know if they consider the work Slash has done outside of GNR as changing music or just furthering the legacy of what change he created with Guns N' Roses. I mean, I would give Slash every award that there is because he's so legendary, but I don't know if he kind of meets whatever their criteria would be. But look, he's still making music. He's still collaborating. He's still doing so many other things. But think about it this way. Jimmy Page is only in there once. Tony Iommi's only in there once. So, Brian May's only in there once. And when I say only, I mean with the bunny quotes, because only being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame once, it's like, only? Really? How about Linkin Park and Godsmack getting into the Rock Hall? I think Linkin Park's a shoo-in. I don't think they're going to get nominated and voted in the first year they're eligible. Godsmack, I would be curious about. I mean, obviously, personally, I would love to see it. But that's what I'm saying about, and it's no disrespect to any band, but I think when they're sitting in that room trying to figure out the nominations list and the voting list, because I believe only 6 or 8 artists get in a year, did they change music? Like Stone Temple Pilots isn't in there. Pearl Jam's in. Nirvana's in. Soundgarden belongs in there. Alice in Chains belongs in there, but they didn't get nominated. So I think that, seeing the bands we love get in, we're going to be really old by the time all the bands we want to get in there get in there. So those nominations, I'm happy they're there, but it's going to be a while. So new episode of the podcast, number 246. Mike and Courtney from Spirit Box comes out at midnight. Told you guys that. All of the locations, we are holding strong at 149 countries listening to the podcast. If you're celebrating your birthday today, cheers to you. You're sharing it with Dr. Dre, Brian James from The Damned, Robbie Bachman from BTO, Dennis DeYoung from Styx, and arguably the most hated woman in rock and roll, Yoko Ono, all celebrating birthdays today. So cheers if today's your birthday. Happy birthday. Happy unbirthday, Keith. Jessica says the Foo Fighters got in. They 100% got in and belong in there. Dave Grohl only got into the Rock Hall twice now. But it took Ozzy until he was, 75 years old to get in as a solo artist? Like, that's insane. Donna says you need to take Sully for the Magic Meatballs. Sully's in Europe right now on the Godsmack tour. And if he's not there yet, he's leaving soon with POD and Drowning Pool. So I don't think we're going to be eating magic meatballs and raviolis anytime soon. All right, speaking of Ozzy, we got to talk about the concert because they just added bands to the lineup on July 5th. So tickets went on sale for the Back to the Beginning final show for Ozzy and Black Sabbath on Friday. At one point, somebody put up a screen grab. They were numbered 529,000 and something in the online queue at Ticketmaster UK trying to get tickets to this. It sold out in like 10 minutes. You knew it was going to sell out. It's one show. They're not going to make a tour out of it. They're not going to do multiple nights. Ozzy's already saying he's not doing a full set with Black Sabbath. He's going to be there. What I think is going to happen is that Ozzy is going to sing some songs with Sabbath, but he's not going to sing a bunch of songs in a row because I don't think Ozzy can do that anymore. He says the Parkinson's keeps him from being able to walk, and so he is training to be able to perform. So what I think is going to happen is that Ozzy's going to sing a song with Sabbath, and then Jonathan Davis is going to sing a song with Sabbath, and they're just going to bring in all of these. I mean, look at the list of artists that are on here. I can make this say, like, look at this. This is the additional performances list. Look at that. Billy Corgan, Andrew Watt, Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Dave Ellefson, David Draymond from Disturbed, Fred Durst, Lizzie Hale. This is supposed to be an all-star band. Jonathan Davis, Mike Borden, Papa the Fifth, Perpetua from Ghost, Sammy Hagar, Sleep Token 2, Tom Morello, Vernon Reid, Whitfield Crane, Wolfgang Van Halen. But this week they also announced that Guns N' Roses, Tool, and I couldn't be happier for the guys in the Rival Sons because I love that band so much, and I'm hoping that someday the masses will finally realize how amazing Rival Sons are. They've been on the show. Jay Buchanan is an amazing vocalist and frontman, but Rival Sons, Guns N' Roses, and Tool all got added. They also announced that Jason Momoa is going to be hosting this whole shindig. Now, they're doing it for charity, which tells me that it is going to be available to stream. We just don't know who is going to get the streaming contract for this thing yet. They haven't announced it yet. All right, let's talk about some of the shows that got announced because a bunch of tours and shows have been getting announced. All of these shows are headed to the Garden. The Disturbed show is sold out, but the aforementioned Deftones, Ghost, Linkin Park, the Shinedown tour, and Nine Inch Nails all headed to the TD Garden. All of the concerts that we talk about here in the War Room are all on the concert page at mistresscarrie.com. They haven't announced the lineup yet and all of the featured guests, but you want to block off the weekend of September 12th through the 14th at the DCU Center for Silver Scream Con 4. Spencer Charnas and the guys from Ice Nine Kills putting the festival together again, returning to the DCU Center where it got moved to last year. We talked about the Coal Chamber tour that got postponed from Big Night Live. They are going to reschedule that for later this year. Kim Dracula just announced that they're going to be at Big Night Live. That's coming up on March 14th. That show up on the concert calendar as well. The Xfinity Center has got Simple Minds in June, Rod Stewart and Cheap Trick in July, Papa Roach and Rise Against in September, Billy Idol and Joan Jett, that's in August, and the Doobie Brothers in August as well. Those tickets went on sale last Friday. If you've never heard Mike Shue do his Michael McDonald impression, you are missing out. Dream Theater on their 40th anniversary tour hitting the Wang next month. Heart is going to be at Foxwoods and the Aganis. AC/DC at Gillette Stadium with the Pretty Reckless on May 4th. Alice Cooper at Mohegan. Post Malone and Jelly Roll at Gillette at the end of May. Clutch at the Lynn Auditorium June 12th. Sleep Theory just announced that they're going to be at the Sinclair in Cambridge on June 19th. Those tickets went on sale this past Friday. Weird Al at the Wang and at Foxwoods. Incubus at Mohegan, Def Leppard at Mohegan, and Coldplay, 2 shows at Gillette Stadium. There were a lot of people that were rumored to be pushing for Weird Al to get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And people were saying there was a chance he was going to get a nomination this year, but unfortunately he didn't. The Leaderbank Pavilion in Boston announcing more shows for their summer concert series, including Toto, Christopher Cross, and Men at Work. Like, talk about bringing the hits. That's July 26th. The Goo Goo Dolls will be there on July 29th and Chicago on August 2nd. Again, all of these shows are on the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. The Lumineers got announced as another artist that is hitting Fenway Park this year. The tickets for the North American Lumineers tour, including their stop at Fenway on July 18th, go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. The Lumineers' new album came out on Valentine's Day. The Palladium has got The Plot in You coming up in March and Memphis Mayfire coming up in May. I told you guys, it's busy. Jack White's at Roadrunner tonight for the second of the 2 shows that he's playing there. Poison the Well is going to be at Roadrunner at the end of April. Ministry will be there on May 14th. And Jet, in case you missed it, is back together and doing a North American tour, and they are hitting Roadrunner on May 31st. Let's see. MGM Music Hall at Fenway, Joe Bonamassa, the Dropkicks, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweat, Spirit Box, the aforementioned Spirit Box. Keep an eye out for the Grandpa. Listen to this week's episode. You'll know what I'm talking about. Devo's going to be there. They were on the SNL show on Friday. They were great. Fred Armisen was playing drums with Devo, which was hilarious. Trivium and Bullet for My Valentine at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway. Queens of the Stone Age, the Pixies, and Alabama Shakes All of those shows have been announced and have gone on sale already as well. House of Blues. The Dropkick Murphys announced that for the 6th year in a row, they are going to live stream around the world their show on St. Patrick's Day, live from Boston. It's going to start at 9 p.m. live from the House of Blues on St. Patrick's Day, and you can get the tickets no matter where you are. If you want to watch the Dropkicks live in Boston, you can get those tickets from Veeps. Poppy at the House of Blues. The U's doing 3 shows because they're doing 3 different albums in its entirety. Machine Head's going to be there at the end of April, and Marilyn Manson on May 10th. And by the way, if you're watching the War Room from somewhere outside of New England, all of these tours are out. And I guarantee you there are dates near you. The Paradise Rock Club Quicksand coming up on March 19th. The Linda Lindas and the Melvins and Napalm Death are all going to be at the Paradise Rock Club this spring. City Winery Boston, we talked already about the Grunge Brunch with Stone Temple Posers on March 22nd. Those tickets are on sale right now. Nothing has been announced for Suffolk Downs in their newly refurbished stage, but I will let you know as soon as they start sending out press releases that they are going to release some concert details. When it comes to new releases coming out this Friday, David Lee Roth, The Warner Recordings, a new box set, 1985 to 1994. Dirty Honey releasing their first ever live album, Mayhem and Revelry Live. Imagine Dragons releasing Reflections from the Vault of Smoke and Mirrors. And the new Killswitch Engage album, This Consequence, is out this Friday. Jesse Leach was on the podcast on episode 240. Talking about the process of recording this record, what made it different, what went into the songwriting of this album, and of course the tour that they're going out on. And you can expect more tour dates from Killswitch Engage to get announced very, very soon. And don't forget, Record Store Day is coming up on April 12th. That is going to be at independently owned brick and mortar record stores around the country on April 12th. You can go to recordstoreday.com to find a record store near you and to get a list of all of the exclusive vinyl releases that are coming out on Record Store Day as well. Louise says they just announced today that ZZ Top is going to be at the Big E this year. Foreigner is going to be there as well. Billy Gibbons, by the way, is going to be the Grand Marshal at the NASCAR race in Atlanta this weekend. So keep your eye out if you're a NASCAR fan for Billy Gibbons, because he is the Grand Marshal for NASCAR this weekend. Carol wants to know how Mr. C is. He is here in the War Room staring at me right now with his feet up and a cold beer in his hands because he is retired. And he says thank you for all of the cards and all the messages and all the support. He's got pugs and a cold beer and some whiskers right here that I've never seen before, but he's good. So thank you for asking. Let's see. Eric says, Carrie, have you seen Ghost movie? Yeah, it's unreal. Like Tobias Forge, I interviewed him. He came in the studio. He didn't wear all the stuff, so I couldn't take pictures with him in the studio. But then I went to the show that night at the Garden. Oh, no, it was at the Wang, actually, and got to take pictures with him in full Papa getup. And he is an interesting individual, to say the least, for sure. Shane wants to know, is Mr. C bored yet? He's getting there. He's tackling honey-do list stuff. Yeah, he's very busy. I'm keeping him very busy. Trina says, congrats on your retirement, Mr. C. Marcy says, come on the camera, Mr. C. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He's just going to hang out. He's doing his thing, but he's retired. We'll see how long it lasts before we drive each other crazy. All right, mail call. Got a card in the mail this week. Oh, all of a sudden, who's awake? The snoring pugs are awake. Do you see anything in this envelope that's for you? No. Do you see anything in this envelope that looks like you? Yes. See? That's a pug card that looks like you. See, Friday? It says, Dear Mistress Carrie, Wednesday, Friday, and family, hugs and kisses and Valentine wishes. Pugs and kisses, Jessica. Thank you. Look at that. Friday would have that piece of candy eaten in about 5 seconds flat. Easy. Thank you for the Valentine's Day card. I hope you guys had a great Valentine's Day. Let's see. Voorhees says, don't razz the guy. He's not going to come on camera. No, he's not. He just wants to chill. He doesn't want to do the whole thing. So, all right. New on the website. We have not added a bunch of new stuff on the store in a while, just because with everything else going on, launching the new stations, the holidays, everything going on with my mom. But I promise you there is some new stuff coming, and we are working on stuff. I can tell you, though, that the website has been updated with all of the stuff to make it easier for you guys to hear me on laser. So all of that information has already been updated on the website. And for anybody that had a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you knew that the show on laser was coming, because you guys find out about stuff before anybody else. So if you go on Patreon, get yourself a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you get a monthly exclusive live stream. You can submit podcast interview questions, because I let you know who's coming on the show. You get travel blog updates, which, by the way, I am traveling next week. So there's not going to be a War Room next week, because I'm going to be on the road and I'm going to take you guys with me. So be on the lookout for updates from Las Vegas. You know, that big rock festival that I go to every year, the Big Rock Radio Convention. Well, that is next week, and I'm going to Vegas, and there's going to be a ton of bands there. So I'm going to set up a lot of interviews for the podcast. I'm going to go to a lot of shows, and I will have tons of music, behind the scenes gossip for you after I go to this convention next week in Vegas. So no War Room next week. You also, if you get a Backstage Pass, get early access to event tickets and exclusive concert ticket giveaways. So right now, Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass holders have access to Spirit Box tickets to see them at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway coming up on April 19th. And you also get merch discount codes to be able to get new merch before anybody else, and to get it at a discount. So I promise you that there is some new stuff coming. A reminder of all the places you can find me on social, including downloading the Laser 99.3 app. I told you this list was going to grow last week, and hi, Wednesday. You look like a parrot sitting on my shoulder, like I'm a pirate or something. What are you doing up there? Huh? What are you doing up there? So all of the stations that you can hear me on have their own apps, and you can also stream the show right off of their website. All of the links are also at mistresscarrie.com for all of my socials, for all the radio stations. If you guys want to read the press release about the announcement about the new show on Laser, that's up on the website as well. So tons of stuff. And I want to thank everybody, especially, hey, don't do that. Get down. One of the first people to reach out when I started on the air on Friday in Springfield was the Veterans Services Officer in Springfield. And he was like, I wanted you to have my name. I wanted to make it easy for you to get in touch with me if you ever need anything or need any help from us. If any veterans from the Springfield area reach out to you and they need something, please connect us. And so I sent him a bunch of the things that I have done with veterans over the years. And one of the things that I sent him was, if you have initiatives, resources, fundraisers, organizations, you know, people that are looking to hire veterans, post on this group. And he messaged me back and he was like, oh my God, that's amazing. So I got to thank everybody that's been active in the Mistress Carrie Veterans Rock group on Facebook. We're up over 2,200 members now, which is unbelievable. So thank you to everybody that actively posts. Thank you to everybody that supports the events that get posted up there. Thank you to everybody that's been hiring veterans. Thank you for supporting veteran-owned businesses. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go on Facebook and search Mistress Carrie Veterans Rock. It is a public group. Anybody can join it, and it's a place for people that just want to get involved with veterans initiatives. You don't have to have to be a veteran. You don't have to necessarily know a veteran. You just have to be somebody that cares about veterans and wants to get involved. But if you are a veteran, there's a lot of great resources, and if you have questions and you're looking for stuff, you can always find it on the Veterans Rock group. So there you go. Any updates on the... Oh, on the knit caps with the headlight gear on it? No, Bish, I haven't been able to find anything. I really have been looking for hats that rather than have lights in them, I've been looking for reflective stuff. But I haven't been able to track down anything yet. So Lou says, have a blast in Vegas. Louise says, my birthday is next week. Well, no War Room next week. So happy early birthday, Louise. Let's see. Marcy says, downloaded the Laser app. Thank you very much. So there was a lot going on this week. Super excited about everything. As soon as the guys from Laser told me about the new show, I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm taking off for Vegas for a couple of days at the end of the month. And they were like, nah, it's totally cool. So I don't want to hear any shit that I was on the job for less than 2 weeks and took some days off. I go to this convention in Vegas every year. It's how I meet a lot of the newer bands. And it's also where I find out a lot of the inside info about some of the bigger bands and their plans, because all of the record companies and managers are out there as well. So I will have tons to tell you guys about in 2 weeks. No War Room next week. And don't forget, a brand new episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast coming out at midnight tonight, episode 246, featuring Mike and Courtney from Spirit Box. It goes live. And don't forget the bonus episode featuring Barry Kirch that went live over the weekend. So, all right, guys, Friday, you want to say goodnight? Wednesday, you want to say goodnight? All right, guys, I will see you guys in 2 weeks. And if you got a backstage pass, I'm taking you to Vegas with